Okay, first we're going to talk about what we're going to need. We're going to need a bowl or Tupperware that we don't mind getting messed up. We're going to need a buffer, a nail file that's coarse or rough. We'll need a nail Dremel, which is optional, but I do use it. You'll need cotton balls. You'll need foil cut into squares. You'll need pure acetone, because you do need pure acetone. It's the only way to be able to get it off the quickest. Other stuff is not strong enough. And then you'll need nail clippers, or cuticle clippers. You'll need 2 or just 1 cuticle pusher backer. So those are the things that we're going to need, that we're going to use throughout the removal process. And then later we will talk about the things that we're going to need for the actual application. Alright, so you're going to take your cotton balls, rip them into 10 pieces because you have 10 fingers, and then you also have 10 foils. You put those in there, and then pour your acetone to get them soaking, because that's what you're going to use to take it off. You're going to file the tops of the nails before you even put the first layer of, foil and soak on them. You need to get them rough. They need to all look very scratched. And then you, of course, apply your foil and your cotton balls. This is what they do at the nail salon, and it's the same exact process. So I let them soak for about 5 minutes before I start filing my first layer off. So you're going to wipe off the gooey layer with the cotton ball and file off the nail. And then you're going to, after this, re-wet the cotton ball with the acetone and fold it back up. Sorry when my hand goes out of the camera. I eventually start moving it over, but I did not think about doing that until later on. So you're going to do the same exact process for every finger. You're going to go and file off the top, re-wet the cotton ball, and apply the foil back on. You're going to do this for 2 to 3 times. It takes about 3 soaking processes to get it off completely. Depending on how thick you apply the dip every time will determine how many times it's going to take. Most of the time it just takes me about 3, unless I use a certain brand, which takes forever to get off. But for the quick dip that you'll buy at Sally's, it only takes about 3 times to get it off. So when I made this video, I was talking a little bit, but I changed my mind that I did not like what I was saying, and it was way too long. So this is me doing a voiceover as I'm watching myself do my nails after I've sped it up. All right, so I've taken it off. There was still a little bit, so I just left it on. But overall, I think I did a couple of nails. Oh, see, there's where I moved the video over. So my middle finger's done. So see, it takes 2 to 3 times. In between though, after I finally get it all the way off, I will buff the nail, just so I can make sure I did get it all off. That's why I keep doing that in between. So the pinky's done, the ring finger, and now we're just gonna wait on the thumb for a second. Thumb tends to take the longest because it is the biggest nail. I do not save these. You could probably double use them depending on how long it takes you to take them off, but I typically just cut out 10 because it's easiest for me. All right, so they're all done. There's the final look. I know it's kind of quick. Now that I have soaked them all off, I am about to prep my nails. So I push my cuticles back after I soak them in a little bit of soapy water. Warmer is better. I'll push them back. I'll soak them a little bit more, and then I will push them back again, wipe them off, and then I use my cuticle nippers. Be very careful. If you have brand new ones, which I do not, they're super sharp. These are still sharp too, but if you have brand new ones, that will hurt you. I've cut myself before, and that is very uncomfortable. After I do that, I buff them. I did file them after I took them all off. I just didn't show that part, and I shaped them to where I like them to be. I do the same thing to the other hand. I'm not making a video, it doesn't take me that long, but it did take me an hour to do my nails because I was making the videos. And again, I did talk when I made the videos, even though I'm not using that voice, but it does take me, I'd say 45 minutes, not any longer than the normal nail salon I do use a Dremel here because I'm not very good on getting my right hand clean because I'm not a left-hander. And I just use it just to get those cuticles. Okay, so this is where we do our nails. So the Dremel is optional. You will need a nail file, you'll need a brush, a buffer, you'll need your dip powder, you'll need, I have a couple other colors I'm going to show you. You'll need a primer, which will come in the dip kit. It'll also come with your applicator, your activator, and your top coat. I know this is super fast, but I'm just going to talk over. So what you're going to do is you're going to apply your primer and then you're going to do your powder. I do not go all the way back to the cuticle on my first application of the powder. I don't do it the first time because you don't want it to be thick. So the second time and the third coat I do. The second coat I go all the way back to the cuticle. I just apply a thin layer. I do not want super thick because I just don't like that. I think it looks terrible. So here's my third layer. I just apply another even coat, which is what helps keep them super smooth. And I dip my nails twice in the powder. Had to go check on the baby. And then I put my activator on. This is what hardens and makes it stay on your nails good. Then I prime my other hand. And I do the exact same thing on this hand. I've already primed it. Now I'm gonna put my application of my gel or glue, whatever it's called. And then I do my powder. Again, I do not go all the way back to the cuticle on the first round because I don't want it super thick and cakey. I brush it off, and then the second round is when I will go all the way back to the cuticle. This is where you want to cover the nail fully. I do a nice even layer. See how I don't keep brushing it over and over again? The more of this application, like gel application, that you put on there, the thicker it's going to be, which then is what's going to cause it to be super bumpy or wavy, and you don't want that. So that's why I do it just really subtle and make it a nice even layer. So my third layer, I just cover the dip only. I don't try to cover any more surface of the nail. I only cover what I've already applied. That's why that second layer is super important, because that's where you're going to kind of sculpt the shape of your nail, over your nail with the dip. Do the same thing. And then I double dip them, brush them off, and then I'm going to put my activator again. So I know this is going to seem crazy and you're going to be like, how do you get them so smooth? This is all I do. I don't do anything else. This is the only thing I do. I apply the activator twice though. Make sure you do that. And then you have to wait for it to dry. This pink is super messy, but it doesn't usually do that. This is just the one time, but it is like super messy. This is like the only color that does that, to be honest. And it was a terrible idea to do it for my tutorial, but whatever. So I got a little bit on the end of my nail on my skin. I just clipped it right off. So I'm going to file my nails with the rough edge of the filer on the sides only first. And then I'm going to go back and do the ends. This is where you're just going to shape your nails exactly the way you want them. Look at them, make sure I like them. They're very smooth already, but I'm going to go ahead and buff them now. And my nails are pretty much smooth. I don't have to use the drill. Make sure you get really good right there on that cuticle area. You want it flat where your hair does not catch in there. They're pretty smooth though, but I don't really have to do anything else. Now I'm going to add another layer of activator just to smoothen them up, make them look nice, so I can look and make sure there's nothing that I'm missing. And voila, super flat. Okay, now I'm going to do the same exact thing I just did to my other hand. So my right hand, I'm a little bit more, it's not as perfect because I'm obviously not left-handed. So my right hand, I will end up using the Dremel along the cuticle line where I wasn't able to get it perfectly round and perfect. But again, still pretty smooth. And the reason why it's so smooth is because I add such a light, even layer of the gel application when I put it on there. That's what's going to keep it so smooth. Don't put a thick layer, make sure it's thin, and take your time and go slow. If you don't go slow, then it's going to be bumpy and you'll never get it out. This nail Dremel is not strong enough to make it super smooth. I can, but not generally. And the one that the nail salon uses, you can get it at Sally's, but it's $140, which obviously I'm not going to spend the money on. And there you go. Now you got to let that activator dry before you apply your top coat. You have to let it dry fully. Here's where I've made mistakes. Do not wash your hands in this process yet. That's going to be the very last thing you do. If you don't, your top coat's going to be matty. So here you go. And this is where you're going to put your top coat. You're going to put a thin layer, just cover the nail first round. If you don't want to put it super thick, you just want to paint a thin layer the first time, and you have to let it dry fully before you add your second coat. But by the time you're done with your other hand, then this hand should be dry. It needs to look kind of like shiny, but you can tell it's dry. In between, like kind of after nail polish dries, you know the way it looks, it needs to be just like that. And then you can apply your second coat. Make sure it's done evenly, because wherever you paint it, it's going to dry just like that and be super shiny. So that second coat's what's going to make it super shiny. The first one won't look shiny, but the second one definitely will. Do not blow, do not waft. Keep your hands completely still for about 5 minutes and let it dry. So last couple steps. You got to make sure they're dry. Don't use the tips of your fingers, even though I just did. You need to use your knuckle. Once it's super smooth and doesn't leave marks, make sure you wait a good 3 to 5 minutes. You put the oil on your fingers. It doesn't matter what kind. But then this is where you're at the end. So I know my fingers are kind of pink, but just ignore that part. But there you go. See how smooth and shiny it is? You see how it's not super on my cuticles. It's just perfectly there. Bam. That's all I do. I'm telling you guys, it's not that hard. It seems complicated, but practice makes perfect.